know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
And overtime.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Jags, Titans, AFC South family business. You know how the family do it. And apparently, you see how the Titans do it. Or rather, Derrick Henry, never ever trust a man with two first names, does it on Thursday Night Football. And this has been a little bit of a disappointing season for Derrick Henry, I must say. I was expecting him to blow up this season with the departure of DeMarco Murray. I thought they moved Murray out of the way to allow Henry to erupt. After seeing him in the playoff win versus Kansas City, where he took over that second half along with Marcus Mariota on the ground, I thought it was a foregone conclusion that he would blow up in Tennessee this year behind that offensive line. And with Marcus Mariota being a threat in the run game, I thought that Derrick Henry would emerge as a big-time runner in this league for the Tennessee Titans. I was wrong. He's actually taken a step back. They've given the bulk of the touches to Dion Lewis, and for good reason. He's been the more impressive and efficient of the two backs this season. But when Derrick Henry has gotten opportunities, you've seen him do some good things. There have been flashes. This game right here, though, takes the cake. Last time I checked, I believe we were at 219 yards on 11 carries. Don't quote me on that. It's some ridiculous number, though. He's almost averaging 20 yards per carry. Obviously, the 99-yard touchdown run, which was utterly ridiculous, aided that big average. This ass whooping, look, we're not even in the fourth quarter yet, and I'm jumping on, which tells you that this one has gotten out of control. And yeah, 30-9 doesn't look as bad. They just scored a touchdown, did the Jaguars, to make it look a little bit more respectable. It was 30-2 when I started to start this stream up and fire it up. It was 30-2. They went for it on fourth down and got it. D.D. Westbrook touchdown. He's been the lone bright spot for the Jaguars, along with Cody Kessler, who hasn't been that bad. But look, behind that offensive line, which features Eric Flowers at left tackle, you're not going to get much production, which is why they won the game 6-0 last week. And this is more of the Jaguars team that I thought I was going to see after the loss, the demoralizing loss to Pittsburgh 3 weeks ago. I thought that was the team that we were going to see last week versus the Colts. I was wrong. They showed up, family business, got it done, 6-0. And so here we are, thinking they were going to show up and make it a competitive game tonight, and they're getting their asses handed to them. Poor tackling, a team that looks like they want no parts of Derrick Henry. Never, ever trust a man with two first names. A team that looks like they don't even want to be here. It's Thursday, little short week. They don't look like they want any parts of this football game tonight. They don't want any parts of Derrick Henry, that's for damn sure. And I wouldn't want anything to do with him either after the assault and battery he put on him on the 99-yard run. I wouldn't want anything to do with his ass. I would be looking for the first police officer I could spot and say, that's the man that assaulted me. Arrest him. Put cuffs on him. All right? So in any event, the Titans, this is the problem I have. And we talked about this when they beat Dallas on Monday night about a month ago. This is the problem we have with the Titans. They show up one week and they look like this. They show up the next week and they look like they did against the Jets in the first half, where they were down 16-0 at home before scoring a touchdown right before halftime to give them a little juice. They sleptwalked through that entire game, at least 3/4 of that game, before waking up in the fourth quarter, scoring 13 unanswered points and rallying to beat the Jets 26-22. That's why you can't trust the Tennessee Titans, because you don't know if the Dallas Cowboys game Titans are going to show up, or this game Titans are going to show up, or the Titans that we saw last week, or hell, God forbid, the Titans that we saw the week before that against the Indianapolis Colts shows up, against their brains bashed in 34-3. You never know what Titans team is going to show up. And so that's why I'm not sold on Tennessee, nor will I ever be sold on the Titans, because I don't know from week to week which Titans team is going to show up. Marcus Mariota had a horrible interception earlier in the game on an open receiver. He misses some throws sometimes when he should make them, but then he makes some great throws and he uses his legs like he did on the 3rd 11 earlier in the game to extend the drive. Again, he, to me, is the microcosm of this football team, because you don't know what Marcus Mariota you're going to get from play to play, from week to week, from game to game. You don't know what Marcus Mariota you're going to get. And that, I think, is the exact same thing you can say about this team as a whole. But nonetheless, after tonight's game, they'll be 7-6. They'll be entrenched in the wild card chase. They're not out of the divisional race quite yet, but they're going to need some help. They need Indy to beat Houston this week, and that will give them a chance to stick into that race. I don't see them coming out with anything more than a wild card if they're able to make the postseason, but they're going to have to be more consistent down the stretch. Last year, if you remember, they had a great maybe 12 games or so to start the season off, and they were horrible down the stretch with the Titans, and they barely limped into the postseason, having to win in Week 17 to get in, but they were able to get it done, and they were able to make it to the wild card weekend, go to Kansas City. They were down 21-0 in halftime and rally back and win that football game. I don't know what you're going to get from Tennessee down the stretch. They've got some very winnable football games. The Redskins are in there. I know that for sure. They've got some games that they can get, but we'll see what Titans team shows up from week to week. You just never know with the Tennessee Titans. As for the Jaguars, this was more along the lines of what I expected last week. I was pleasantly surprised with what I got. That defensive effort that they turned in last week was phenomenal against a red-hot Colts team. They showed up, pitched a complete shutout. They got some help from the Colts coaching staff, mainly Frank Wright, who decided that 52 passing attempts for Andrew Luck was okay in a 0-0, 0-3, and then finally 0-6 game. It's okay to throw it 52 times and abandon the run. It's okay to go for it on 4th down 3 times and fail all 3 times and bypass opportunities to score points. They got some help from the Colts, but make no mistake about it, when you shut a team out, that's a lot of you playing well on the defensive side of the football, and that's what the Jags did last week. That's the direct opposite and the polar opposite of what we've gotten tonight. This looks like a team that is packed it in for the season. This looks like a team that at 4-8 was expecting much more out of their season after starting 2-0 and have officially quit. Now, again, it's a week-to-week league. I tell you this all the time. They may stink this week. Next week they show up, play great football, win a game 10-3. I mean, that's the NFL in a nutshell. You don't know what you're going to get from week to week. But tonight, the Jags stink. And, you know, I'm a Blake Bortles apologist. And watching this offensive line and seeing Cody Kessler get harassed tonight, look, you know how I feel about Blake Bortles. And you know I felt like the run game let him down, the offensive line let him down. But they fired Nathaniel Hackett, to me, wrongly. They benched Blake Bortles. Look, I don't have any problems with benching Blake Bortles. You feel like that's what you need to do to give your team a spark? Sure, why not? It's a little late for that, but okay, whatever. Bottom line is, you see how Cody Kessler is being harassed tonight? Like, what do you expect Blake Bortles to do when he's under pressure? At least Bortles can run. Now, Cody Kessler isn't running anywhere, but I digress. Last week, I gave Cody Kessler credit, 18-24 for like $130. He didn't do anything special in the game last week, but what he didn't do was he didn't turn it over. And the Jaguars always, and I've said this going back to last year when they were winning games and they went 10-6, you don't turn it over. You give them a chance defensively to stay in ball games. And Cody Kessler didn't turn it over last week. Well, he turned it over this week. He fumbled already. He should have thrown a pick. It was dropped by Kenny Vaccaro. He could have easily turned it over 2 or 3 times in this game tonight. That offensive line is trash. There is no real run game to speak of because of all of the mistakes, all of the guys up front. They turn, and this is what happens. And as a Redskins fan, watching patchwork offensive line after patchwork offensive line week after week with new guys being shuffled in and out, those are the kinds of offensive breakdowns you get, where linemen are blocking the same guy, 2 guys blocking 1 guy, and 1 guy comes scot-free. Next thing you know, your quarterback's going bootleg. He turns around, and there's a 315-pound defensive lineman bearing down on him. Oh, yeah, with his partner as an edge rusher coming as well to strip the football out, and you fumbled, and you don't know what the hell happened. As you took your 5th step on play-action fake, you turn around. Before your 7th step could even hit the ground, you're on the ground, and the ball's out. I've seen it happen this season. I've seen it all too well. I know it all too well. And it's what happens when there's no continuity, no fluidity along your offensive line. And it's hard to generate any kind of consistency up front when you're mixing and matching pieces and parts and bringing in guys from the streets and starting guys that was trash elsewhere and you're hoping to make him a treasure here in Jacksonville. Highly unlikely. And the end result is you're getting your brains bashed in right now. Let's take a look. Probably still 30-9 if I had to guess at this moment. But in any event, I'm not going to make this too long of a show. This isn't gonna be your standard run-of-the-mill hour show. I'm gonna get in, pick out a few comments. We're gonna get out of here. I don't want to divulge. My girlfriend, she asked me before the game even started, do you have to do a video for this game? And I'm like, yeah, they're Titans fans, they're Jags fans. They deserve some love too. Like, I don't want to shortchange these guys. They deserve to have their team talked about just like everybody else. That's it. And this game might not be as bad. Every time this season, for the most part, I'd say 85, 90% of the time this year, we think we were going to get a dud. We've gotten a really good football game. Well, this was a part of the 10% of the ass whoopings that we've gotten. You could throw that in the pile with the San Francisco and Oakland game and maybe one or two others where we said, hey, probably not going to be that good of a game, and it turned out to be a really bad watch. Add this to the mix. But this isn't through any fault of the Titans. All they did was go out and kick some ass. All right, all they did was go out and tear the Jags a new asshole. It's not their fault the Jags decided they didn't feel like playing football today. And so I'm not going to kill Tennessee for doing what they were supposed to do at home against a lifeless Jaguars team. I am going to kill the Jaguars, however, at 4-8 for putting this kind of product on display. This stinks right here. This is straight trash. And look, I don't think that their head coach Doug Marrone needs to be fired, but this is bad. This is what got the rumblings and grumblings going in New York with the Jets when Todd Bowles was rumored to be fired right before the bye week when they got their ass spanked. When you show up like this and your team, or don't show up rather, and you look like this on national television, people start talking, and the front office, they start talking. You see Tom Coughlin taking notes feverishly up in the press box. Every week he's doing this. What do you think he's writing now? These guys look like they quit. These aren't the Jaguars we're accustomed to seeing. Hell, these aren't even the Jaguars we saw last week. They're not even tackling tonight. I don't know what this is. All I know is that they didn't want to play tonight, and it's showing. And the score is still 30-9. It's a bad look for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But if you're the Titans, you'll take this freebie. It's a short week. You get a nice break between your next game, and you go to 7-6, which gives you a chance to stick around in the AFC wildcard race. Let's take a few comments, and let's get ready to get the hell out of here. So, FBG Tony says, Lou, you said F this shit and got on before the fourth quarter. Look, bruh. He said, shit is hilarious. Look, bruh, you know what time it is. When I get a blowout and I get a chance to get it over with nice and early, your boy is trying to get in and out and go much faster than slow before anybody even realizes I was here. Hey, BE says, Henry about to be charged with 53 counts of murder. Think there's been a murder. This man is killing that Jaguars defense, man. Oh, man. FBG Tony says, Jags are absolutely trash. On my life, they are horrible. These dudes are worse than the Niners. Screw the record, LOL. Hey, look, man. I'm going to tell you this much real quick. At least they showed up last week and put up a shot against a hot Colts team that hadn't surrendered a sack in 5 weeks, and they got the win. They sacked Andrew Luck 3 times last week. I don't know who the hell these guys are. Like, I feel like it's almost like the Monstars on Space Jam, and it's like they're having an out-of-body experience, and like the NBA players took their bodies back from the Monstars, and they're back to being those puny little space aliens. I feel like that's what we're looking at with the Jaguars tonight. Like, I don't know these dudes, man. It's like they were the Monstars last week, they were the Jagstars last week, and they're back to being the Jacksonville Jags. I'm not talking to you, Mark Sanchez. Get out of my face. Ricky L says, Lou, what's up, bro? Call me crazy, but Cody Kessler hasn't looked half bad. Look, I said he hasn't been that bad. I liked Cody Kessler when he was in Cleveland, actually. I thought he didn't get a fair shot in Cleveland, but that's Hugh Jackson. Hugh didn't know what the hell he wanted to do from a week-to-week standpoint, but I thought Cody wasn't that bad in Cleveland, to be honest with you. Bottom line is, it's going to be hard for anyone to look that good behind that Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line right now. FBG Tony says they don't want no smoke with number 22. He is emptying out the clip, busting their ass. Facts. More facts. Big facts. FBG Tony also says the Titans are the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde team. He said these mother effers are on crack. LOL. I don't know what's going on with these dudes from week to week, man. Colts fan says, yeah, I told you we shouldn't have passed it 52 times. You were right. I went into the game because you told me that I was going to be disappointed in Frank Wright and that the coaching staff threw the game away. You were 110% right. I talked about that on the Lockdown Coverage podcast, where I talked about that Colts. This is the second game, and I said this on the podcast, and this is the last thing I'll say on that. This is the second game this season that Frank Wright's lost for you guys. He lost you that football game. He was way more aggressive than he needed to be. Colts fan says, has it been more of your defense as a unit or single players that you have had a problem with on your defense? It's individual player. It's really a unit because you can say what you want about individual players, but at the end of the day, individual players make up a unit. And if two guys make a mistake, the whole unit suffers. So we can sit here and talk about maybe a safety not making a proper fit or a linebacker not making a proper fit on a long touchdown run or a big run, but that shit spreads. It's contagious. If one guy starts effing up, missing tackles, you saw it tonight. You know, on that first 99-yard run for Derrick Henry, after that one play, it's like they couldn't tackle the rest of the night. And that shit becomes contagious. You know, all of a sudden, one guy misses a tackle, the next guy misses a tackle, and all of a sudden, it's an epidemic. And we've had that issue with the Redskins where guys haven't tackled well. Guys aren't making proper fits in the run game. We can't get off the field on third downs. We don't get enough pass rush. It's a collective unit that's just effing up with our defense. The 20th Mike says, you were right about these broadcasters. They start to wander off the game and talking about the NFC East and the AFC game. Look, that's what happens when the game becomes a blowout. The problem I had with it on Monday night, though, was that the Redskins game was still competitive. And they decided that the Redskins and the Eagles game wasn't worth paying attention to. Let's talk about the Chargers and Steelers game from Sunday night. That was a good game. Look, the game was 14-13, and I get it. It's Dirty Chaz at quarterback. You don't expect the Redskins to win. I understand. But you're professionals. You have a job to do. Your job is to focus on the game at hand. It's 14-13 going into the fourth quarter. Focus on the game. Don't start talking about the AFC West. And don't start talking about next week's game. Don't start talking about things that don't matter. Don't start talking about Reuben Foster. The game is 14-13. The Redskins are in the game. Focus on the game. But those guys on Monday night are horrible. And I think they're one and done. I can't imagine ESPN thinking it's a good idea to bring these guys back next year. If they do think it's a good idea, they need to wash their face and get their goddamn mind right. That booth is trash. Jason Witten is horrible. Joe Tessitore needs to go back to doing low-budget college football games. And I actually don't have a problem with Booger McFarland. I really don't. But that whole thing needs to be blown up. Anyway, FBG Tony says, the Jags are horrible. Cody Kessler was looking okay, but the rest of the squad just sucks, LOL. So much wasted talent. He says, especially on defense, shaking my head, Henry destroyed them. Let's see. Let's see. Colts fan says Matt LaFleur deserves a head coaching job somewhere else. Hint, hint, Tampa. I like Matt LaFleur. He was in Washington, so I know him. He was with Sean McVay. He was on the Redskins staff. Then he went with McVay when he got the head coaching job with the Rams and was his offensive coordinator, or really his quarterback's coach / offensive coordinator. But Sean was calling the play, so he really wasn't the play caller. This is his first time being a play caller in Tennessee. I don't think he deserves a job just yet. I think he needs to get a little bit more experience calling plays. I don't think that he's ready for a head coaching job, but he did interview for the Titans job last year, so he has experience interviewing for a job, knows what to expect. So maybe if he gets another opportunity, maybe he'll wow someone and he'll get an opportunity to be a head coach in this league. I don't think he's ready quite yet, but we will see. FBG Tony says, they want no smoke with Derrick Henry. Rip to the 2018 Jags season. Marone might need to go. I don't think he needs to go. The man just went 10-6 and was literally a quarter away from taking the Jags to the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history. I think sometimes we're too hasty in our reactions to bad seasons. Look, the man had one bad season in 2 years. One great season, one bad season. You're going to fire him after one bad season after he was one quarter away from the Super Bowl? I don't think so. I think he's fine. Ricky L says, thank you. I thought the same about Cleveland. # give Cody a chance. The Black L.A.B says, what it do, Lou? The NFL said they're giving $20K to anyone who can fix punt returns and make them safer. You sending in any ideas? LOL. I don't know what they are expecting. I mean, short of taking punt returns out of the game, it's going to be a physical play. You're going to get blindside blocks. You're going to get guys that are going to get leveled. It's tackle football. It's a collision sport, and punt returns may be the most dangerous play now that they've essentially taken kickoffs out of the game. But anytime you got guys running 20, 25 miles an hour down the field looking to crash into somebody, what do you expect? I don't know what you think this is. It's football, folks. And again, these guys, they know what they're signing up for. This isn't like the first time where you kind of withheld information from these guys as to what they were getting themselves into from a concussion standpoint. They know the risks. They know the parameters. They know what they're getting themselves into. They are willingly choosing to play football. And if you want to take it a step further, have them sign some kind of agreement absolving you of any further persecution down the road for them playing and incurring any kind of bodily or brain injuries down the line. Like, these guys will sign that clause, and they will continue to play because this is what they want to do. This is how they make their livelihood. Football is a physical game. You can't legislate the physicality out of football or else it's no longer football. Simple as that. I don't really know what they want people to do. I don't know what they're looking for, honestly. Colts fan says, you think the Panthers are done this year? I talked about this on lockdown coverage. No, I don't. But this week is it for them. They don't win this week. Yeah, they're done. K. Michael says, or K. Michelle, I'm actually up to comment. Jags games have been tough to watch all year. Is it safe to say Teddy Bridgewater will be at the top of their list next year? I thought they should have went after Teddy this offseason. And I'm a Blake guy, but I thought that, it wouldn't have been that bad to that same 1-year contract the Jets gave Teddy. Why not give Teddy that 1-year deal? Have him compete in the offseason with Blake Bortles. If Blake beats him out, cool. Blake gets the start. If Blake struggled and Teddy won, then let Teddy go. And I get it. You went to the AFC Championship game. Blake played his ass off down the stretch and during that postseason run, and it was only fitting to give him an opportunity to show that that wasn't a fluke. But I thought that Teddy Bridgewater was the guy that they should have brought in the offseason. So maybe Teddy would be. But I'm going to tell you right now, you remember, Teddy's in New Orleans. And I think the Saints are impressed with Teddy Bridgewater, and I think they feel like he may be the quarterback of the future in New Orleans. They're working with him right now, and he's behind Drew Brees. He's learning that offense under Sean Payton. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints didn't re-up Teddy Bridgewater for 2 or 3 years and kept him in-house. It all depends on Teddy Bridgewater, too. He may say, hey, no, I want to go somewhere and start. This is a great opportunity for me here, but I don't know how long Drew Brees is going to play. This man might play another 3 years. I don't want to sit behind him and waste prime years of my career. I need to get on the field, and maybe he'll decide to go elsewhere. We'll see. But if I'm the Jaguars, yeah, a guy like Teddy Bridgewater is definitely high on the list. A guy like Tyrod Taylor is another guy I'd be interested in calling up the Browns and seeing what it would take to get him in a Jaguars uniform. Guys that I know will run the offense, will make plays. I think Tyrod Taylor would be the perfect quarterback for a place like Jacksonville. Nope, it's not pretty. It's not aesthetically pleasing, but what Tyrod, excuse me. Mama named him Tyrod. I'm going to call him Tyrod. What Tyrod Taylor does is he gives you a chance to win without hurting you. No, he's not going to make a bunch of eye-popping plays, but what he's not going to do is turn it over. What he's not going to do is put you in bad spots. What he's going to do is give this Jacksonville Jaguars defense a chance, and that's all you can really ask for with the way they play a lot of times. Gregory Lightbody says, Alex's career might be over. Do the Skins get their money back? No, you don't get anything back. That's why guys sign contracts that are guaranteed with injury, and that's what they should do for exact situations like the one we've seen with Alex Smith. The 20th Mike says, should take in as much football as possible because before you know it, football season will be done, and it will be the playoffs before we know it. And I tell you this every single year. We laugh at games like this. We turn down games like that Monday night game we'll get in Week 16 with the Broncos and the Raiders. You turn your nose up at these games, but soon there will be no football, all right? Or there'll be the AAF football. And I told you about that on my podcast. That's coming up in February this year. And I asked you guys specifically, would you watch? We'll see. The American Alliance Football League is coming. Are you going to watch? We'll see. The Black L.A.B says, why does Kirk Nephews underperform against teams with winning records? Shit's annoying as hell. And look, I need you to give him back his name. He's not Nephews. You crowned him Cousins like after week 4. I need you to give him back Cousins. Get your offensive line straight, man. Like, your offensive line is trash. You just got a semblance of the run game back with Cook against New England in week 13. I'd like to see more from the run game. But, look, at the end of the day, the Patriots, give them credit. They took Adam Thielen away. Thielen was a non-factor in the game. And Cousins has had these issues going back to Washington, but it hasn't always been that case. You know what I mean? I've watched him outdo Aaron Rodgers before. I've watched him come up in some clutch situations. I've also watched him fail in some really big-time situations. But I've seen him come up clutch when we needed him most. And if the team around him plays better, I think, look, the defense gave up over 400 yards of total offense. All right? The defense couldn't get off the field on third downs. The defense wasn't good enough. He didn't have a lot of opportunities in that football game. You gave up 311 yards passing and another 160 yards on the ground. Like, I guess you blame that on Kirk Nephews, as you call him too. Like, that your team is so much worse off than it was a season ago. It's not even funny. Anyway, Colts fan says, honestly, I think Washington should just start the rebuild. Look, honestly, I don't think we need the total rebuild, but I think there are certain aspects of the team that do need to be blown up. On the offensive side of the football, a lot of that shit needs to be blown up. I think the defense is just fine. You just need to add a couple of pieces, one at each level. Okay, you could use a really good corner. You could use a really dominant edge rusher, and you could use another game-changing linebacker with some speed. But the defense isn't that far away. But the front office needs to be blown up. You know, the only guy that should survive the wreckage is Doug Williams and our capologist. He's a guy that's been around for ages. Other than those two, everybody else can go. Jay Gruden needs to go. Bruce Allen needs to go. Everybody needs to really go for the most part, and we just need to start anew. But I don't see that happening. BK Soldier 2018 says, we got next week Cody going for 4 touchdowns. We got you next week, Cody going for 4 touchdowns. It may happen, bro. It may happen. Your offense is so bad, though, that you might get us for 2, maybe 3. You're not going for 4. You're not going for 4. You're not scoring 30 on us. Your offense is trash. So our defense is trash, but your offense. I talked about this when you lost Lee earlier in the season, Marquise Lee in the preseason. I said, if he's your number 1 receiver, man, is it bad in Jacksonville? And once Fournette went down to injury, it was trash can city out in Jacksonville. Like, it's bad out there. Not a lot of talent on offense. I didn't think Blake had a lot to work with to begin with. And no way Cody's going for 4 on us. He may get 2 or 3, though. We're really bad on defense right now. Black L.A.B says, our O-line was trash when we went 13-3. DeFilippo got a goal point blank. It was trash, but what you also got to realize is that Case Keenum was escaping last year. Case Keenum, I don't think he got enough credit for some of the Houdini acts he pulled out of his hat last year. Case was running his ass off last year, extending plays, making something out of nothing. Case did some really creative shit last year. You give him credit. Black L.A.B says, I'll call him Kirk Cousin Shoes. I can't with you, bro. I can't. Cuz Shoes. I guess I'll have to take that compromise. What's up, Ree? Says, I don't know what to think of Derrick Henry. He'll have games like this, then he'll lay an egg. The Titans don't even know what to make of him. That's why they haven't been giving him the bulk of the carries this season. But he's got talent, man. Let me say this about Derrick Henry. Man, can he run for a big sumbitch. God damn, he can pick him up and put him down. A guy that big shouldn't be able to run that fast. Like, once he gets ahead of steam, guys aren't catching him from behind generally. It was the same thing in college. When he would get ahead of steam, he played in the SEC. We know there's a bunch of athletes in the SEC. Dudes weren't hawking Derrick Henry from behind. He ran that 4.52 at the combine. Dudes aren't catching him from behind. And the same thing I said about Chubb, Nick Chubb. If that's what 4-5-2 looks like in the NFL, shit, 4-5-2 is the new 4-4-4. Because Chubb had a run against the Falcons, like an 80-yard run, some 83, something like that, where he ran and he just smoked everybody. I'm like, is that what a 4-5-2 looks like? Henry on that last touchdown run? If that's what a 4-5-2 looks like, bruh, miss me with the 4-5-2 stuff. That's faster than that. Colts fan says, you agree Dan Snyder is the worst owner in the league? He's up there. He's up there. BK Soldier says, who should the Jags get, Will G or Dwayne? I don't even know who the hell you're talking about. Will G? Who is that? Who is Dwayne? Help me. Gregory Lightbody says, do you think Lincoln Riley can be a better Jay Gruden? I honestly don't know if we need another offensive mind. I think to maximize our roster the way that it's constructed, I think you might need a defensive-minded head coach, a guy that can come in and actually take the Redskins roster as is. And right now we're not good on offense, and we're not going to fix it overnight. We're not going to fix it in one offseason. We don't have a lot of cap space. We are guaranteed a lot of money to the quarterback position, whether it's Colt McCoy or Alex Smith over the next few years, especially Alex Smith. You're just in a really bad position. You're not going to really be able to upgrade the offense as much as you would like to. I feel like the defense isn't that far away. You're closer to having an elite defense than you are elite offense. So I think what you want to do is maximize that by getting a defensive-minded guy that could come in and potentially get the most out of this defense and give you a chance to win week in and week out. You hope that Geis comes back stronger than ever and kicks some ass next year and gives us an opportunity to win games like we were earlier in the season. I know a lot of Redskins fans were upset that we weren't blowing teams out, weren't scoring a bunch of points, but we were winning football games. And I think we're closer with defense. Oh, okay, thank you. Will Greer. So that's Will G. Will Greer stinks. And Dwayne Haskins, he's starting to grow on me. Dwayne Haskins is actually starting to grow on me. So we'll see. I'm going to tell you this. You'll be in a position to draft one or both of those guys. So we'll see. I'm not a Will Greer guy. I've been on record as saying I'm not a Will Greer fan. But Dwayne Haskins is starting to really grow on me. Black LB says, why have teams that have had success running the ball during games, i.e. Redskins on Monday Night Football versus the Vikes versus the Pats, stop midway through the game when it's still within reach? I can't tell you. Some of these coaches are brainless sometimes when it comes to some of these things. Colts fan says, will the Falcons be okay next year? I think so. I just think they had so many injuries this year. It's tough to overcome a ton of injuries. They were one of the most banged-up teams this season, especially on defense, which their defense, we remember that defense we saw against the Eagles week 1, and we were like, man, this Falcons defense, they're going to be something to contend with. And then they fell apart at the seams with all the injuries that night. They had Deion Jones go down for the last, I think he just came back. His first game was on last week in week 13. So he missed 11 games. Remember, Keanu Neal went down for the season in that game. They also lost one of their other starting safety, Ricardo Allen, for the season, like in week 3. Their season was just pretty much done at that point. So, anyway, I'll check that out. BK Soldier says he might do a Redskins Jaguars mix. If you do it, hit me up and I'll check it out, man, for sure. But in any event, that's it. We're going to get out of here now. Still 30-9, 3:33 left in the game. The Titans took it to the Jaguars, really from the opening kickoff. If not for the muffed punt by Batson, you're talking about a game that was thoroughly dominated by the Titans. They pretty much played mistake-free football. That stands for the muff punt that led to a safety and the Mariota interception. They destroyed them on the ground. Like I said, this was a Derrick Henry led ass whooping tonight. And if you're the Titans, you need consistency down the stretch. If you're going to make a run at this thing, you need to play better football consistently. And these final 3 games after tonight are going to go a long way in determining your fate this season. And if you're the Titans, I think the magic number for you is 9. You got to get to 9 to give yourself a chance. You're 2 games away from that, so you need to win 2 out of your final 3 to get you to 9-7. After tonight's game, you'll be 7-6. If you can get to 10, I think you'll get in with 10. 10 in the AFC right now, with the Ravens probably losing this week to the Chiefs and still having another game, I believe, against a tough opponent. I think they've got one more tough game somewhere in there. I think they're going to end up with 8 wins, are the Ravens, most likely. 9 wins. So 10 is the magic number. Denver, I think Denver has a legitimate shot at getting to 10. So if you want in, because the Chargers are getting in. You know that's a foregone conclusion. They play the Bengals this week. Boy, has anybody had a softer schedule than the Chargers and Dolphins. God damn it, man. Boy, have they had some soft schedules. Jesus Christ. Anyway, sorry. That's it for your man, Louie T. Thank you guys for joining me. Like the video. Sub up if you haven't already done so. Check out Lockdown coverage. There will be no Louie T Network podcast this week. Been dealing with some issues. My son got sick, had bronchitis. That's why everything's been a little bit muddled this week. So I got to take care of the little guy. Make sure I help nurse him back to health in any event. For you Redskins fans out there, I tweeted out, and if you're not following me on Twitter, shame on you. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to tell you what I said on Twitter. If you're not following me on Twitter, then I'm not going to tell you. You should be following me on Twitter. You should know what I'm talking about. And in any event, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, if it's not your man T, then it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Titans destroy the Jaguars 30-9, get to 7-6 on the season with this victory, and give themselves a chance in the AFC wildcard. Meanwhile, for the Jaguars, it's been a very disappointing season, and this looks like the beginning of the end for them. This looks like the makings of a team that's ready to pack it in here now at 4-9 after tonight's loss. This was a despicable performance, especially on the defensive side. This kind of mirrors that ass whooping they took in Dallas when they gave up 40. This kind of looks a lot like that. Just one of those games where you're like, who are these guys? I don't know these guys, especially after the week they turned in last week on the heels of the shutout of the Colts. You're playing against another family member. I just expected better from the Jaguars, and tonight we got a team that looked like they were basically quitting on the season. Anyway, it is what it is. Titans get the win, 30-9. They're 7-6. Jags leave the game at 4-9. I'm your man, Louie T. I'm out of here. See you guys next time. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Louie T.